Welcome to tonight's episode of the Group Therapy Podcast. As you can see, Brandon has decided to graciously appear tonight.
Feels like something's about to crawl out of my skull right now.
He got a headache. It's been a long day.
Yeah.
No, we had some. We Tina's upstairs, but we're gonna do a podcast tonight. We want to talk about D&D, role-playing games, all that fun stuff like that.
One of my favorite pastimes.
Yes. I've been playing gaming since, I want to say the 6th grade, so 1985, 86? A long time. D&D was all of it was like 10 years old or 10, 11 years old when I started playing.
What edition did you play?
First Ed.
Ah.
First Ed. But before we get started, remember, we will let you to check out the Group Therapy TV podcast on YouTube, on Podbean, and now we are on Stitcher Podcast. We are podcast addicts. We are on Deezer Podcast. We are on, I'm trying to think. We're on just a bunch of podcasts. Go try to find us. If not, if you can't find us,
Try YouTube.
Try YouTube. Look us up on there. Look up Group Therapy TV. Put Group Therapy TV Brandon. It'll pop up almost immediately that way. Or Group Therapy Weekends. We're going to, or you can follow us on
The brother that does not want to appear.
Joe just wandered into
like a cryptid. He was like in the Bigfoot pose, like,
and he just walked right back.
he's like, whoop.
Here he comes. He's gonna go get into the drawer. What do you need, Joe?
He doesn't
Second drawer.
He doesn't want
it's what I think
he
you're
doesn't
gonna
want Apple to own his voice and likeness. Because we are on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, we are on Apple Podcasts. We're Google Podcasts too. Okay. And if you can find us on there, follow us at Group Therapy TV on Facebook. You can follow it through me. You can find me, Paul Lee, on there. You can follow my store, RU Game. Brandon's on there.
Yeah.
But you can follow us on there through the Group Therapy, or you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Emperor Palpatine at Group Therapy TV on the Twitters, and I'm at Group Therapy TV on the Instagrams.
If you're on Twitter, you know who I am.
Yes. So, but as always, remember, this episode is brought to you by RU Game, the best comic book video game, magic, toy store, and all of Piqua, Ohio. 45, or what was it? I keep wanting to do the zip code. At 124 North Sunset Drive, Piqua, Ohio. 45356. All right. And you can buy your gaming supplies there. I sell dice and miniatures and gaming books and modules and paints and all that fun stuff there. So
he also offers recommendations.
Yes.
So if you want to learn about an obscure ass series of books, then he will probably know about it.
Oh, here's the thing. I also allow, if you become a regular, you can use my personal gaming library to run a campaign in the store. You can't take it
We're
out.
not a library.
We're not a library. We allow you to use the books in store, and I have everything from D&D, Shadowrun, Pathfinder,
Pretty sure you got some
GURPS. I have Cyberpunk 2020 in the far-flung year of 2020.
Oh boy.
I have Palladium role-playing. I have DC and Marvel role-playing games. I have Star Wars role-playing games.
That's what Joe and I are
3
running.
different generations of the Star Wars role-playing game. But you guys are playing with this second generation.
Yeah, the D20 version.
The D20 version, which I'm not going to lie, preferably the best.
This is because you're familiar with the D20.
Well, I played with the D6 system when I started playing the Star Wars role-playing game. Matter of fact, those are the same books that are sitting on that shelf are the same books I played with when I was in junior high. And Brandon over there will not leave the dog alone. So,
All right, Abby.
okay. So, long story short here, I started playing D&D shortly after I was... because we had, let me pull these out here. Boom. Because back in the 80s, they had Choose Your Own Adventure books. Well, this is what D&D decided to put out. These, the Endless Quest books. And this one, I believe, is actually signed.
Do they actually have like little checks in them where you
Yeah.
like roll?
Look at that. I got that signed to you forever ago by Larry Elmore.
That's cool.
Yeah, Larry Elmore, the cover art. The guy who did like almost all the D&D paintings at one point. Did this, signed this to my kids. These were cool because this is what I started with. This is what I started it in probably...
Is that the same book you've had since you were a kid, or?
Yeah, this is definitely the same one I had. I got, this was in 1982. And nope, this is the fifth publishing in 1983. So I probably had this one since I was 9 when I got this. Probably got it at a library sale or something. I have a bunch of these, which these are getting stupid expensive now. I started playing these when I was reading these. Then they went up to these. The
scoot out of there.
Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Adventure Game Book.
Hey, Abby, come on.
And
Should we go hang out
you
with
actually had to
kids?
have you got your character sheet, your little tiny character sheet, and that's how you kept track of everything.
Nope. Get down.
And I got hooked on these.
Quit chewing on me.
No time for stealing, Beagle Boy. We're making movies. Lights, camera, DuckTales.
Here comes the magic and adventure that is pure Disney. As your fine feathered friends drop by for non-stop action and excitement.
More. I want to see more.
It's coming your way in the 2-hour world premiere of DuckTales.
Disney Magic, Friday at 8 on Fox 11.
There's something strange in the neighborhood.
So who you gonna call?
Looks horrid. We're cool. We can ghost zap. Let's find those ghosts.
Batteries not included.
Yeah! I'm no ghost, but he is. I'll project one too. Over here. We're being watched. Fire ghost zappers. Turn to high frequency. We ain't afraid of no ghosts.
Ghost Zapper Ghost Projector Guns, each sold separately. Ghostbusters, new from Kenner.
And we're back. As you've noticed after the last episode, we have added 80s commercials. And I think the last time we had some Mask, some Fruity Pebbles commercials, and some Nintendo, the original Nintendo NES system.
Back when everyone called games Nintendo.
No, because I'm older. They were all Ataris. Every game system was an Atari. But that's another thing is man, I started playing the. I have a bunch of the old Advanced Dungeons and Dragons games for the Super Nintendo for the Nintendo. Ooh, yes, I even had the ones for the Atari, because we had Adventure and all that stuff. But these things right here are what started my downward spiral playing D&D. Then one day, me and my buddies started. We bought the original box set, the red box, and it just went downhill from there. I spent many a afternoon playing D&D in junior high, all through high school. Even
You played usually at the library, right?
yeah, we played at the library, played a little bit of everything. See, we had the old Pickle Library, for those who don't know, had the basement, and we would play all the way downstairs in the magazine room of the library. And occasionally we could get the off room that was off there, so we could actually close the door and have privacy while we played. And we would sit there and we would play D&D for hours. Matter of fact, it's funny. I was going through my old box sets and through them and stuff because literally I ended up buying my buddy Dante. Shout out to Dante Medley today. I bought all his stuff, and then I still had a bunch of my stuff from when I was younger. So I have, it was either my own personal stuff that I've had forever, or the stuff I used to play with when I was a kid. Well, I found all of our old player sheets and stuff like that a while back. And what's hilarious was because I ended up talking to a girl from Wizards of the Coast a couple years back, and we were sitting there and they were asking like, when did you start playing D&D? And I went, 6th grade. She's like, well, how old are you? And I was like, I think I was like 44 at the time. And they're like, oh, you've been playing a long time. I'm like, yes I have. And she's like, and I was like, yeah, and I just found my old character sheets. And she goes, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but there's a website and you can go to, and it shows you how to transfer your 1st or 2nd ed D&D guys to 5th ed. And now I'm kind of wanting to do a podcast or do a streaming where I bring back my 2 buddies. We turn our characters up to 5th ed, and we continue running the same characters.
They're all now those characters are all old men, just like you in real life.
They're all old men. Grumpy old bastards that are grumpy about every dang thing. So
my usual go-to D&D character is I like him. I made it work. His name's Call. He punches things. He's a monk.
Remember the last time we played D&D and you got a spear to the chest? Like,
I was trying to be good, and it backfired.
What's funny is the last big adventure, because I've DM'd, and I'm getting to the point where I don't want to DM. I want to actually run in a campaign. I don't want to run a campaign. I actually want to in a campaign. And usually I end up, even if I'm doing it, I always end up rolling up a character so that they have an NPC to basically help everybody through. But when the last big campaign I did it with Nate. We ran it at the old shop, and we ran it forever. And literally, my character was the only one that started that was still there at the end when we kind of just stopped playing. Because everybody else had either died and remade new characters, and mine's the only character that started that was still there at the finish. Mind you, he was I think I was like if I remember right, I was like a 13th level fighter, a 7th level pyrokineticist, and like a 5th level soul knife. I just kept adding and stacking my traits on top of everything. Literally, and the worst part, he was a 5'1" half elf who wore plate mail. So man, my dude was a little freaking walking tank because he was I just laid waste to everything. I was like, okay, Psylocke in the X-Men creates the energy daggers and stuff like that and the energy sword. Yeah, my character could do that and then ignite them on fire. So I could stab you with a psychic knife and then ignite it on fire.
Whoa.
And it was cool because I had Flame Walk, which was where you didn't fly, but you would walk on air and you'd leave flaming footprints. It's a freaking awesome trait. But we played the hell out of that one. And the worst part about it is I can't find that character. So I don't know if Nate, if you still watch this, Nate Walker, if you're in Georgia and you watch my podcast, Nate, please send me I don't care if you copy it, throw it on the internet, and email it to me. I would love a copy of my character sheet back. And the first part about it was I was really big in watching Slayers, and so was Zelgadis was my character's name because I was the elf from Slayers. So I played the shit out of that one, but no, this is bad because what's really bad is when you go back and you look at the names you created when you were like 12 years old. Ooh. Dude, mine is that the worst part about it is I just ripped off names. I had Deathlock Stormdragon. I was a big fan. I still am a big fan of the Marvel character Deathlock because he's a cool ass character. Mm-hmm. And Stormdragon just sounded badass. And then, so I have Deathlock Stormdragon. That's like I found I want to say it's Campbell's character sheet. Josh Campbell. Shout out to Josh Campbell. I found one of his old character sheets, I think, and he had a wizard named Merklin. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. Merklin was the wizard from the Visionaries. Because we were original. We were kids, man. But
if my character isn't named after arcade hardware, then my character is named after other fictional characters.
Well, I remembered. I ran I wouldn't run. I was in a Star Wars adventure, and my character was Son Goku. Hey, Son Goku. That sounds like a character's name that you could have in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Son Goku, smuggler. So,
in the campaign Joe's running, I'm a clone.
You're a clone from the Clone Wars?
Yep.
So you're which one are you?
I'm a Republic Commando, RC 606.
RC 606?
6067.
So yeah.
6067.
So sixes?
No. That's not his name. He's a Harbinger.
Harbinger?
That's his nickname.
6-0. He would be 6-0.
His whole thing is that he is a rare specimen of clone. And that he is force sensitive.
Well, there's no. See, if you go back to Legends, there were force sensitive clones. Yeah, so. Well, what's really funny is, for those who don't know, there was a role playing game called Bessem, Big Eyes Small Mouth, the anime role playing game. I don't know if I loaned that out to somebody because I used to have it. But the cool part about it was you could run almost any anime because I had the books for Bubblegum Crisis, and I think I had the books for Sailor Moon too.
So you could run magical girls or cyberpunk shooty or
you could mash them together too. You could have
cyberpunk magical girls.
Why not? Sailor Moon Cyberpunk 2099.
See, you need to have like giant mech and then just make Coop from Vegas.
You could do it. You do it. There's probably stats in them books. I need to get them now. I got to go back through and find the Bessem books again.
You got to follow the crap. I can't remember his name, but he's one of the head guys who worked on Megas. Mm-hmm. He has like a bunch of like old statues, and he's got a big box of them. He's like, I don't know what to do with these, and it's just like. You need to send him money so you can get a mega statue.
Yeah, send them to me. I'll put a statue like right here maybe. Put it next to my look D&D action figures. That's right. There's my good wizard, my evil wizard, my paladin,
your dwarf,
my dwarf. I have a custom Death Knight that I got off of Aaron from Roma Toys. Shout out to Roma Toys and Aaron. So, and then I got my little goblin dude from Black Star. So
you got a Force Awakens clone, First Order trooper.
Yeah, I got all kinds of stuff. I got Visionaries too. See, boom, Visionaries, boom, Visionaries.
Man, them the holographic effect on their chest, is still in pretty good shape,
dude. I have a Supernaturals back there, and his hologram works really well for 35-year-old action figure with a hologram in it. Oh man, I tell you what, I've been on a kick and I've been trying to find the old D&D action figures. There's some of them are stupid expensive, especially if you get the weapons, because some of them had a regular, like they had the shield shooters and stuff. Mm-hmm. And if you get the regular one with just a regular shield, he's cheap. Mm-hmm. If you get the shield shooter one, he's expensive. It's the exact same figure, different shield. Mm-hmm. I got a War Duke somewhere because War Duke's the one that everybody remembers because the only two these came out at the same time the D&D cartoon came out. Probably top 5 animated series for me.
It still holds up, honestly.
Because it does. Well, the thing is it's still got everything in there, and the only person to appear was the Paladin and Warduke, or the only ones that made it in toys. They didn't make the.
they did not make the main cast.
No, and I there's all kinds of rules to that because the toy line was based on the role playing game, not the cartoon. Because everybody was worried because that was during the Satanic Panic and everybody thought D&D was evil anyways. So they didn't want to hey, look, there's D&D toys and stuff. I was like, shit. I watched literally, top 5 cartoons of all time. Number 1 is G.I. Joe.
Number 2 is Transformers.
No, number 2 is Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo.
Then what's number 3? Transformers.
Thunder the Barbarian.
Oh.
I love me some Thunder the Barbarian. And number 4 is Transformers. Number 5 is D&D. Then you get into like Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends and Silverhawks and Thundercats and
90s Spider-Man cartoon.
God, I keep going on because how much I love my Saturday morning cartoons. I just picked up a copy of Bionic 6.
Never heard of that one.
Bionic 6 is fun and it's kind of racist at the same time. They have the Asian guy who's Karate 1. Well, they give each other these little monikers, like the dad is Bionic 1, the mom is Mom 1. They're not related. They're all an adopted family. So they have the one kid who plays all kinds of sports, so he's Sports 1. They have the Asian kid who...
Renowned Japanese animation director Osamu Dezaki was involved as chief supervising director.
Yep.
The guy who worked on Golgo 13 and Cobra.
Yep.
Damn.
Yep. The series was initially as a direct sequel to $6 Million Man and Bionic Woman, and to be the Austin family, but they
changed early.
Yeah, they
in
couldn't
production.
get the rights. But no, I've been Dr. Scarab, which is great because it's voiced by. I mean, look at the list of freaking voices. Alan Skeletor, Oppenheimer, Neil Shipwreck Ross, Frank Megatron Welker, Frank
Uni Welker,
Freddie Welker, Frank. You name a cartoon, Frank Welker has been on that cartoon in one way, shape, or form.
he is the voice. He's the current voice of Garfield.
He is the voice.
He phones it in a hilarious manner. Joe jokes that he's pretty sure Frank Welker is drunk during some of these recordings because he's just like,
no, we won't say that because that's liable. So
he's a public figure. You can't.
No, he's Freddy, still Freddy on Scooby-Doo. He's now Scooby-Doo on Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Here you go. You got Jack Bennett, Bionic 1, is an engineer and expert test pilot.
Helen
Bennett, a.k.a. Mother 1, is Jack's wife, an oceanographer and accomplished marine biologist. Eric Bennett, Sports 1, is the Jack and Helen's blonde athletic son at the local Albert Einstein High School. Meg Bennett, a.k.a. Rock 1, is Jack and Helen's daughter and Eric's younger sister, an excitable and somewhat ditzy and music-loving teenager. Then you have
IQ.
Then you have James Dwight, J.D. Corey, a.k.a. IQ. And then Bunji Tsukahara as Karate 1. And then their giant mechanical ape named Fluffy 1. Then you have Dr. Scarab, who's the main villain. He does a voice that sounds like, sounds like George C. Scott. They have Mechanic. They're just so stereotypical 80s. But I don't understand why this one is. I'm not gonna lie. I got this bootleg because I cannot find legal copies of Bionic 6 in any way, shape, or form.
Here's a question for you. You all have talking about your favorites and what's the best. What is the worst 80s cartoon?
Ooh, Shirt Tales was pretty bad. Get Along Gang was pretty bad. I mean, it is bad because I don't remember a whole lot about them other than their basic concepts. And
When you were a kid, you turned them on like, oh, I don't like this.
well, one of the problems was you had to stagger your cartoons, or later on when I was a kid, you put in the VCR and you would record one network. So you'd record like ABC and you'd watch NBC, or you'd watch CBS and record. So you always had to like jump around. Because a lot of the jump around, get up and get down. D&D was Dungeons and Dragons was on CBS, but then you had all your ABC shows, you had your NBC shows, you had your CBS, and then later on you had Fox, and then you had like your other syndicated shows, like you had USA's Cartoon Express. Mm-hmm. So, but you. Get back to gaming. We went way off topic. Went back to Saturday morning cartoons for some reason.
It's because the D&D cartoon. All roads lead to Saturday mornings.
Yes. Oh, what's great is that I'm a big fan of the Palladium role playing game because it's got a generic universe,
and it's got books that are crossover with didn't they have the TMNT?
They used to have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which if you're lucky you can still find those. I still have my old copies. And they end up redoing it because they lost the rights to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so they said they had the After the Bomb, which made it that all the mutants that you had, all the mutant animals, were results from the bomb going off and then mutating into human-like creatures. TMNT became After the Bomb, which is still pretty good because it still has a lot of the same artwork in it, except for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is all
censored out.
It's all Eastman and Laird. It's all their original artwork and everything inside there.
Just the turtles themselves have been Thanos snapped out of existence.
Yeah. Then they had the Robotech role-playing game. And I played the hell out of some Robotech back in the day.
You get to pilot giant robots.
Yes. Giant robot. And the cool part about it is they had one of the best books ever. Ninjas and Super Spies.
And
Ninjas.
You talked about that before, how it's G.I. Joe.
It's G.I. Joe. Yeah, you can... G.I. Joe. I'd run G.I. Joe campaigns with Ninjas and Super Spies. Hell yeah. I got 2 copies of that book sitting there at the shop. But that was one of the cool things about Bessem was that it was all interchangeable. And I think you could literally have stats for like Kenshiro from Vista North Star.
Yeah.
You could have fighting JoJo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. You could have Goku. You could have Tokyo Bubblegum Crisis. Mm-hmm. You could have Sailor Moon. Mm-hmm. You could have this mega team of just anime characters. You could have Anime Justice League or Avengers. So I think there was books for like Berserk and everything else, but of course you couldn't really mash up some of them though, because there's no way you could like go, hey, I want to put Kenshiro in Berserk. But I mean, give me the characters, yes, but how are you going to get them there? Time travel or something, or dimensional portal?
I was gonna say there's been all kinds of reimaginings of Kenshiro. There's the one that reimagines him more as a Chinese kung fu fighter. In the Apache slot game.
See, I grew up. Matter of fact, I got the box sets down there, the original Fist of the North Star box sets. But yeah, you could have Gundams and stuff like that. So you could pilot mechs and all that fun stuff for Bessem. The other big world building one that you can run, and if you have the time and you have the money, you can play it, and that's World of Darkness. World of Darkness. This is like, Vampire... For those of you who don't know, World of Darkness was Vampire the Masquerade. It was Werewolf the Apocalypse.
Hunter the
Reckoning. Mummy the Resurrection. You had Changelings. You had Ghost, which was Wraiths. You had Changeling, which was like Changeling and Fairy Folk. Stuff like... You could play anything. They had Kindred of the East, so you could play Asian vampires. But the other part about it was you could run anything because World of Darkness ran. This was one I really got into as an adult. I didn't really play much World of Darkness as a kid. I didn't really hit it until I got older. And the funny part about it is White Wolf. One of their subsets was they had the rights to Street Fighter.
Oh yeah, they had the Street Fighter role playing game.
Yeah, so
That's where a lot of people get their non-canon info from.
Yep.
I'm a Street Fighter lore expert right here.
Well, one of the
Also, King of Fighters lore expert.
I will say this, that the one thing that I could never get into was the live action. I never LARPed. I watched people do the World of Darkness LARPing once, and I was like, oh, this is cool, man. People were in costumes. They were always, really done up. Girls had their makeup done, fangs. And then the combat system, they go up there to each other, and they're like, we're gonna fight. You do rock, paper, scissors. That's how you battle. And it's like,
Just if at that point, just grab the little die and be like, all right, I hit you with that.
see, I literally, when first time I got there, I thought you were going to roll dice. And
That's
then
what I would have done.
Yeah.
That's what I would have set up. I was just like, hey, you got your sheet? I get you.
Okay. Holy crap. Here we go. Vampire the Masquerade. Kindred of the East. Werewolf the Apocalypse. Mage the Ascension. Wraith the Oblivion. Changeling the Dreaming. Hunter the Reckoning. Mummy the Resurrection. Demon the Following. And the Orpheus. Then you had the subset. Because that was all modern. That was all modern day. You had... I got to Werewolf Wild West. You have the Vampire Victorian Age, Werewolf the Wild West, Sorcerer Mage the Sorcerer's Crusade, Wraith the Great War, Vampire the Dark Ages. And then you had the Dark Age stuff, which is 13th century. But I got big into that, and the cool part about that one is where D&D is all about stats. Which, don't mind you still got stats and stuff like that. It's about the game part. World of Darkness is about the role-playing part. So you play the character.
That's why the sheets are a lot more simple. It's
it's dots.
You fill in a
dots.
dot.
Yeah, it's dots. Your mom freaking loved World of Darkness. We ran a bunch of World of Darkness, especially at our old house over on the corner of Covington at college.
Well, I think you got into it right around when Buffy started hitting it big.
Yeah, well...
Heck, World of Darkness was totally... like that Buffy kind of era.
World of Darkness was totally Underworld. They got sued. World of Darkness is if you watch the Underworld movie, go watch the first couple Underworld movies. It's totally World of Darkness. You have vampires fighting werewolves. You have the different vampire clans. They actually had a Kindred the Embrace TV series. It only lasted, I think, like 9 episodes. And it was mostly it says you also got the vampire clans. So you have like the Bruja, the Malkavians, the
nobody likes the fish milk.
You had the Nosferatu,
which are just
the Zimmits.
They're the ugly ones.
Yeah, they are the ones from Max Schreck, Nosferatu. Yeah, they look yeah. See, what happens is when you get embraced, you can be normal looking, but if you get embraced by a Nosferatu, you start becoming more rat-like, and your teeth start...
So you gotta hide away from normal society.
Yep.
And if you don't, chances are you're probably going to get hunted down. And not by hunters, by your own.
Yeah.
By vampires.
See, that's just it.
They want to be secret.
Yeah, vampires want to... certain clans will work with other clans, but then they hate other clans. So, okay, these two will work together, but they hate these two over here. But these
vampire politics.
Yeah, and that was another one. It had a card game that went with it. Never could get in a card game. I really tried. Matter of fact, I've got like 4 or 5 decks.
I never really got into card games in general.
Yeah.
Really, the closest thing was HeroClix.
Yeah, but see, that was another thing I got into briefly was the miniature gaming, which was like I did some Warhammer, and then I realized I don't have enough money for Warhammer or the time. Because it takes you forever to set up. It takes you forever.
Warhammer is like... It's like playing an RTS, but with...
But you actually have to physically move the pieces by hand.
They're tournaments. They're Warhammer tournaments.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I when I had the store in Troy, we had a guy who came in, and he was getting ready to go off to the military. And leading into all that, he was selling off all of his Warhammer stuff. So he asked me if I'd do on consignment. I was like, yeah. Well, we got closer and closer, and I was selling some of it. And then one day he's like, hey, because all this is yours. And I'm like, holy crap. I had a freaking Scout Titan, and that thing stood about that tall. I don't remember
From the table or the floor?
From the table.
All right.
Just tanks and everything. Warhammer is one of the coolest looking role-playing, but there is a role-playing game that goes with it. But it's it's a miniature strategy game.
There's both the role-playing game, the miniature strategy game, the actual video games.
Yeah, Warhammer is everywhere. There's been Warhammer movies, Warhammer comics, Warhammer magazines, Warhammer video games for every system.
Yeah, there's the bad Warhammer games like Fire Warrior. There's the okay games. Then there's the really good ones like Vermintide, which is Warhammer Fantasy.
Well, that's another thing. Warhammer has fantasy and 40K, so it has the past and the far distant future. And I played some of the Warhammer Fantasy. Never got into that. I played some of the Warhammer 40K role playing. It was okay, but man, Warhammer is a complicated world to live in.
Unless you're an orc.
Yeah, unless you're orc. You just crush everything.
I love that orcs have like a cosmic power, but they have no idea. Like if they think that red painting things red makes it go faster, and by like their cosmic power, it actually does make it go faster. That's why you see some art of orcs like with like the windows rolled down on their spaceships. They don't know that they can't do that, so it works. And they say that the first orc was killed when someone was fighting an orc and described to the orc how he was going to kill him, and that's how you can kill orcs.
So here's the best part about it. Warhammer started out in 1987. It's 2+ characters. Setup time is 5 minutes to 30+ minutes. Then you have the play time, which is 1 to 6 hours. So unless you have around 7 hours to really put in for it, you're not going to play it. Random chance is medium because it's dice rolling. But now, see, the thing is I love reading the books still to this day. I read the Warhammer novels. Not a big fan of Simigar, but you know, it is what it is. I'm a big fan of the just the regular guys, because you have the Ultramarines and you have the Space Marines. You have the giant genetically enhanced 9-foot tall armor clad,
and then you just
2
have
hearts,
dinky little human.
And then you have like the support troops. I love reading the books about the support troops because these guys are dropped on planets they're cannon fodder.
They're literally there to die.
They're there to die for their god, who is the
Emperor of Man.
Who's
probably dead and being kept alive. There's some theories that the reason why he's not dead is because the orcs think he's alive.
That would totally make sense. Well, the best part about the Warhammer is that even when you die, if they can get your body, they will just take your brain and your body and throw it in another machine and keep fighting. Because in Warhammer, there's just fighting. There's, how would you like to be
It's a bad universe.
Yeah.
It's just endless war.
You couldn't be just a normal person in the Warhammer universe. Because it would suck to be there. Then you got the Chaos Marines and the Chaos... which is the Lovecraftian... They worship like a Lovecraftian god that lives in the warp. And
you risk becoming warped every time you teleport.
Yeah, and they use the warp to travel. So, like, as long as
you could be a normal person, and then you go through and you're like...
You become a tentacled monster and you warp and stuff like that. And then you become then you become a Chaos Marine. And then there's the Necroids.
Then there's the Tau, who are they were made to be the good guys.
Yeah. And then
that's why nobody liked them.
There was Eldar, who were what's funny is because you got the Eldar, who were the elves, You have the orcs and the goblins, who are orcs and goblins, but are the same orcs and goblins that have been around since day one. They're still the orcs and goblins.
Now they're in space.
Yeah, space. Whoa! Space orcs. Whoa! Let's see. Oh, yeah. You have the Imperium of Man, Chaos, the Necrons, the Eldari, the Orcs, the Tyranids, and the Tau.
Tyranids are like the bugs.
Yeah, they're the bugs. Yeah, they're the you if you
The only good bug is a dead bug.
If
Would you like to know more?
watch
Watch
Starship Troopers. One of the best movies ever made about fascism.
Yep.
And people who don't get that movie are like, oh, you don't get that movie at all.
Paul Vanderhoven himself will arrive in your home and smack you in the back of the head if you do not get his movie.
Paul Verhoeven made 3 of the best movies ever. Starship Troopers, RoboCop was the last one. Come on.
I think I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, you don't know. It's Total Recall. But he made
Recall?
He made
I didn't know.
the original Total Recall. But you know what other movie he made?
What?
Showgirls. Showgirls is greatly bad, and this is the
It's
only,
just a movie not made for you.
yeah. This is the only problem I have with how fast they change, because we're on 9th edition Warhammer right now, and since 2008, 12 years. They went from 5th edition, 6th edition, 7th edition, 8th edition, and now 9th edition this year.
Just be like D&D, and like if you fuck up, just pretend you didn't. And
Yeah,
make 5th edition.
just ignore 4th edition. Yeah, that's just ignore 4th edition D&D. It doesn't exist. People look at my shelf at my shop where I have my own personal stuff, and it goes old school D&D, old
First,
school.
second, 3.5, 5th.
Yep.
They just skipped a number.
I don't know why they number stuff like that. That's like the Indiana Jones. You know, they say there's 4 movies, but there's only 3.
It's weird.
Yeah, there's that fan film that's god awful horrible. But you know, going back, like I said, I played a little bit of Warhammer. I did like the Warhammer 40K actual role playing, because you play Inquisitors for the most part. And that's kind of cool.
I like the Space Marine game, like the video game. It's like a blend of shooting game and hack and slash, and it's a really good blend.
Oh yeah, the Space Marine. Oh god, that's a fabulous game on the Nintendo, on the Nintendo. Xbox and the PS3.
It's the shit. If we're on, the console generations always confuse me. It's like 6th gen, 7th gen. I think it's 7th gen. I think the Xbox 360 era was 7th gen. I think that's it. Does that sound right, Dad?
I believe so. But no, go find those. Those are fun, and it's funny because I hate using my bolter. I only use it when I have to, because when you have to do the ranged attacks in a couple levels, dude, chainsword, one of the best weapons ever in any role-playing game.
It's just like, what if we took a sword and a chainsaw, mashed them together,
and you make one of the best weapons ever.
and it can only be wielded by these giant hulking monstrosity men that have even bigger armor.
Yep.
And they have like tiny little heads. But
Yeah, because they still got a human head, but they have giant 9-foot bodies. So they have these little tiny heads that set upon their shoulders. And okay, picture Tony when the Hulkbuster armor pulls the head back, and you see Tony's little head sticking out of the Hulkbuster armor. That's what a Space Marine looks like. So,
and also the Imperium of Man are, judging by their name, the Imperium of Man, they are not the good guys.
no.
Far from the good guys.
I've come to the conclusion there is absolutely no good guys in the Warhammer universe.
The Tau come close, but even then.
Yeah, but the Tau, yeah. So, but we'll be right back after these messages. We'll be right back.
What
Watch out, America. You never know where Zap-It will pop up next.
Hey, Dad.
Bobby! Zap it.
Mr. Mailman.
Zap it. The color disappears, but the fun never ends.
Hey, Dad.
Hey, Bobby!
Mom.
Zap it. Complete with guns and disappearing liquid. Additional refills in red or blue sold separately. Zap it. The color disappears, but the fun never ends.
It's no more Pretty in Pink for Molly Ringwald as she stars with John Cassavetes and Jenna Rollins in Tempest. Tonight at 9 on Fox Channel 11.
Drive carefully, Fred.
Don't worry, Wilma. I'm an expert driver.
But that Truckosaurus isn't. Look out!
Oh, no!
Fred, did you get hurt?
No, but I got a great idea. These vines and hooks will keep the whole family in place.
You're so clever, Fred.
Buckle up, everybody. I think I just invented seatbelts. Yabba-dabba-doo. Fred buckles up, so should you.
Disney Magic, Disney Adventure, Disney Comedy. Join the fun on the wonderful world of Disney. Weekdays at 5 on Fox Channel 11.
Bringing fun from outer space. She's landing in your town. The most space-age girl around. New Spectra and Spark.
Shiny pink skin. Lacy space wear. Spectra, I'd love to fix your sparkling hair. Now we're ready for your welcome to Earth party. Spark spinning all around. Wow.
The most space-age girl in town.
And Spark, too.
New for Mattel. Look for this free Shimmer on travel kit offer in every Spectra package.
Great necklace.